Hey, this is Reginald Howard here, Senior Program Coordinator for Black Man Hill, and you're tuning in to Rolling Out.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Rolling Out. I'm Rashad Milligan. Today, we are joined by a very, very special guest all the way on the East Coast, or the other side of the East Coast. We're here in the South, Mr. Reginald Howard. Reginald, how are you doing today, sir?
I am well. I am well. Thank you for checking in, and I'm really well because I know some people just say they well, or it's like I'm all right, but I'm good, man. I appreciate it, and thank you as well for this opportunity and this platform. You're doing amazing work.
No. Thank you to you guys for responding to me. For those of you who might not know, I reached out to Black Men Hill cold this morning, just just kind of reaching out to different organizations and different psychiatrists and doctors and people like that. They're the ones that got back to me, so appreciate to them. Hats off. The reason why I brought these guys in and Reginald in today is because there's a discussion that's going on after a viral clip that came out last night. So on a reality TV show on VH1 or MTV, one of the two, one of those networks under Viacom, August Alsina, the singer, who became got another level of fame a couple of years ago when Jada Pickett Smith, said that she was in an entanglement with him a couple of years ago. But he was in news because at the end of the reality show, he gives this long soliloquy about what love is to him. He said over the years, he's learned different ways to love. And with this new person, one person has finally taught him how to love. And he says that person is, and it's a man that comes in the frame. They hug, they embrace. That's the end of the episode. There's no kissing. He doesn't say, I'm in a romantic relationship with them. I love this man, as a, soulmate or anything like that. He just says, this person taught me about love. They hugged. And for some reason, the first assumption that everybody went to was August Alsina came out as gay. Now, it's no problem if August Alsina comes out as gay, but I think one thing is, why was that so odd for people to see a man tell another Black man he loved him and give him a hug? And why is that so out of the norm? So, Reginald, I just wanted to hear first, have you seen that clip of August Alsina floating around on the internet day?
Yes, I seen the clip, and I'm glad you phrased the question in that way, or phrased the topic in that way, because there was no romantic thing in it, and there was nothing. So I was reserving my perspective on it until the full details. I think we jump to conclusions a lot of the times and not even realizing the full brevity of what's happening with the situation. So when I seen it, I'm like, you know what? I'll just wait. I'm not going to formulate an opinion, but in our microwave era of society, like it's like, all right, no, this is what it is, and this is what it has to be, and that's it forever. And so I'm excited to have this conversation as well.
No, for sure. And I guess just, like when you saw that, like you said, you wanted to kind of wait to say anything on it, but I guess what was if it was, say it comes out, that's his cousin, that's his brother, I guess just, like what do you think, what do you kind of want to say about the way that Black men express, their platonic love for each other?
Yeah, and so again, I work for Black Men Hill, right? And we have a men's support group called King's Corner, where we went on tour or whatever, and we went to different cities, and we were talking about this year's theme for the tour. So we went to Chicago, Baltimore, Atlanta, and ended it in our home base, Philly. And this year theme was Black Men Need Hugs, hence why I'm wearing our hoodie of Black Men Need Hugs. And I'll speak of two instances that spoke well to me, or that I realized that made an impact on me. So I have two sons, right? And I recognize through this tour that I don't know how to show love to other males because I haven't received that from my father, and I haven't, been expressed in that manner. So I broke down, and I can send you imagery too. I broke down in the middle of the session because I had my son with me, and I realized that I was missing it from my father and I didn't receive it, but I'm now afforded the opportunity to give it to my son because now I'm learning how to do that. So I wanted to put that one out there in the first perspective of, like, I think that man on man relationship, platonic relationship, is hard to describe. The first time I told my brother, my friend that I called my brother, that I loved him was when he was locked up in the cell. And it was like, why now I got to show you that love when we were spending day to day together, and we could have been said he love you to each other all the time. I have another brother that's in Atlanta right now, and he said, love you, bro. And he said, I love you in that sentiment way. And it's still hard for me because I haven't, gained that before. And so the last part I'll say to that to answer that question is in our King's Corner, which again, I told you we did a community tour, but we also do it every Sunday as a support group. There was a brother, and I can't, the name escapes me right now, but it was a brother that brought in the topic of like, who was your first heartbreak? And most of us, if you're heterosexual, will go to a woman, and if you are not heterosexual or homosexual, you will probably say to whatever significant other or spouse. And none of the brothers he brought in there and said, none of the brothers said that their father was their first heartbreak. And that was the love that they never received, or that was the love that they were trying to expect and they never got it. And so I never even considered that my father could be my first heartbreak. And because I don't even look at love and with him in that way, that, oh man, he's my first heartbreak.
No, 100%. I know with my father, like my father, you know, was in my life and stuff like that, split household. So I didn't grow up with him every single day, but he was, you know, he tried to make a concerted effort to be involved in my life. And I remember, you know, I was riding with a coworker a few years ago, and he had like a newborn, and they were getting a little older, and they were getting involved in sports and stuff. And I was like, man, make sure you go to as many games and practices and stuff as possible, because, you know, I'm grown, I'm in my 20s, and I still remember when I was 7, that feeling of, you know, my father only comes to one game a year. Like, and I still hold on to how that feels. I still hold on to, like, you know, Drake used to rap about it, you know, waiting in the front of his mama house with his bag, his weekend bag and everything like that. And Pop, he might show up like a couple hours late, or he might not show up at all, you know, until the next day. And I remember that disappointment as a child. You know, we hold that so much, and I never thought of that, like you said, even to this point of, man, like, was my father the first time I felt, you know, a heartbreak when I looked up to him as a hero. And, you know, dad, like I said, like, salute to dad. I don't want him seeing this and being like, son, I love you.
But you might, though,
Right,
and it
right.
might spring that again, because even to that point of what you just said, it springs an uncomfortability that might spring that into the conversation of, oh, I never even recognized it. Which I felt with my son. I'm like, yo, I never even recognized it, when I'm still trying to figure out like how to give a hug properly to him without it feeling like, oh, I'm attracted to this male. And now, and again, that is a insecurity and a vulnerability that a lot of men probably don't feel comfortable sharing. But I think it's a natural truth of, oh, I didn't realize that I don't know how to communicate with my brother and love him in that capacity.
I remember I was at my dad's house for Christmas, and I was like 10. And before I left, he gave me a big bear hug. And it felt weird because I never had that from him before. And it's like ever since then, I think it was the 2 girls. He had 2 girls after me. So I think that's really what softened him up. But you know, ever since then, you know, like every time before I leave, he gives me a hug, tells me he loves me, always tells me he loves me on the phone and stuff like that. So, you know, it kind of changed from that point on. But I remember those early years, how I felt when that wasn't the case. And, you know, even just going fast forward to Takeoff's funeral. We were at Takeoff's funeral and stuff like that a couple of weeks ago. I'm there with my boy. And it's sad, you know, like looking at a funeral for a 28-year-old, you know, beyond all the celebrity and stuff, a Black man before the age of 30 was killed. And, you know, like, so, you know, we sad or whatever. And I wanted to kind of hug my boy and tell him, like, I love you, boy, you know what I'm saying? But I was hesitant to do it.
So, I mean, you know, it's not a natural, what do you call it, experience. It's not natural. It's not saying we can't do it. Even if you think about Drake's new album with 21 Savage, that treacherous little twin song is him telling his brother, I love you, and like, I embrace you. And I think we know that the love is there, but the expression of it is hard in a way where we're used to only doing it in one way. And I think it's we try at Black Men Hill to like break that stigma and make it reform into something different, because I think you should be able to hug your brother. I still struggle with it. I'm not even saying I'm perfect. That my brother done got out of jail, and I still haven't told him I love him, or I still haven't do it. And I know it. I know the problem, or I know that I want to say, like you said, but it's just something in our society, social conditioning, or how we made up, that we just cannot, or it's hard for us to express it in that manner. And I'm still struggling to learn it.
Yeah, I think I shed 1 tear from the time I was 12 to 17. And that was like one of my middle school classmates died in a car accident. And then like, I didn't cry again for another like 4 or 7 years. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff is just weird, I guess, as a Black man. So like, You know, what you guys are doing over there, I guess just what are some of those ways that you guys are unpacking it? Like you say, you still struggle with it today, but what are some ways that you kind of deal with it to be vulnerable and to be open for hugs and to cry and to show emotion as a Black man?
So one is the one we talked about earlier, about that experience of like fraternal figures and men. So we have a older gentleman on our team called named Doug, and I think he's 59, maybe 60, like late 50s, early 60s, and he's shown. I done seen him cry so many times. I seen him cry so many times and be vulnerable, but and still just wake up the next day and it's no attack on his manhood or his ego. So him modeling that experience of vulnerability has caused me, this is the most I cried twice this year, and my wife probably never seen me cry over our relationship. So I think the modeling is helping. And also every week on our support groups, we got a collective of Black men just sharing emotions. Because when we go outside these support groups, we don't see it everywhere. So I see, if you go in the hood, you see the look of like, oh man, he may be trying to harm me. But when you're in the support groups, you see, all right, my brother loves me, or and mind you, our support groups are from all over the country. And at one point all over the world, because we have people from the UK and South America and all of that stuff come into our groups. But seeing that vulnerability from people have come to our groups from we're based out of Philadelphia, and it's on Zoom every Sunday. People have tuned in on Sunday from 7 p.m. Eastern. We tuned in from California, right? Cried the first session because they just never had that space to be able to be that vulnerable amongst people that look like them. And I think so modeling and then having that safe space. And I think last but not least is probably we're probably biased at this point, but going and unpacking a lot of those emotional experiences, because to your point, you remember and connect with that point of like your dad at 10. I connect to an experience when my dad never bought me a bike at 10. And I went, he lives in a different state. I went home and told my friends, I'm like, yeah, I got my new bike coming. My dad said he bringing it, and I never got that bike. I'm 31 years old today, and that still is a memory that's imprinted on me. But I didn't know how much it was impacting me until people, bring that conversation up. And I'm like, man, that still weighs heavy on my heart. Like I will never get that bike, even though I can afford and buy my own bike, but it's the love and the compassion and all of those things. It's like, yo, I wanted it from you. I wanted that type of experience from you, and I probably will never get it. And now what do I do with that?
No, 100%. But before we move on to a couple other things, because there's a couple other things I wanted to get to you, especially being from Philly. But the first thing is, before we move on, what is the power of hugs? What can a hug do, and what can that space to cry do for just a man and his mental health and his mental well-being?
So again, we this was our whole community tour was about, because we didn't know the power of how much we need hugs. So when we first started this logo, or the team started this movement, it was like, well, what do Black men need? Black men need, and we came up with like, Black men need hugs. And then now we broke that down, and we had a therapist come in, and he broke down the different types of hugs and what they do. So the first one that we noticed was like, you ever get that side hug, that side, like, yeah, I mess
Church
with you,
hug.
but I don't really mess with you. Like we don't know each other well enough, but I'm gonna give you and show you some love and make sure you know that we good. So it's just recognize, acknowledgement. So that's that first piece of it. Like, yo, I'm giving you the acknowledgement. And then there's all right, I'm gonna bring you close to me. Our hearts are touching, the slap in the hand, and that's that hug. And it's like, yo, I'm giving you that recognition, that respect. And then the last one is that, like you said, that bear hug, that full embrace. I trust you, I know you, I love you. And I think that one, that full embrace hug is one that it really shows you, to talk about what we talked about earlier, that safety that a lot of men are looking for. Is it safe to be vulnerable with you in this space? And I think that full embrace, and what we talked about on the tour, is that full embrace helps you feel. And someone brought up like, yo, our hearts are touching at that point, and we are transferring energy, and that full embrace is showing that we really are safe with one another in this moment.
That's some powerful stuff, man. So salute to you guys, and I'm glad that our paths cross path at this time. Blah blah. I get the words. But the thing I wanted to move on with, you being from Philly, is Meek Mill. So Meek Mill, he's kind of been going viral lately for like kind of people just like laughing at him or whatever. For like really pretty much just enjoying him life and being himself, his true authentic self, and people like, I think the part of the humor in it is that, you know, Meek Mill came in the game as this kid on the streets of Philadelphia with some braids, and he's rapping all hard on camera and stuff like that. And in that, some people said that in the hood, quote unquote, or just, you know, in urban communities, however you want to phrase it, people have to put on, or Black men in particular, have to put on this hard exterior to survive. But that's not necessarily them. They, you know, it's just kind of what they have to put on to survive. So now that Meek has made it to a life where, you know, he's well off, his family's well off and stuff, like he can truly be his full authentic self. I wanted to ask you kind of about that, you know, especially you being up there from Philadelphia, kind of what's your reaction to that take?
Yeah, man, it's a tough one. And salute to me because we do some work with the Reform Alliance. They're one of our partners in some of the work that we do. So we got a chance to collaborate with them over the summer as well. And so it is a good thing in that nature. But man, I'll take it off of me and bring it back to like the Black male experience where we're trying. So again, I'm not a therapist, but we got the clinicians on our team that say trauma changes the brain, and it changes how you interact with the world. It changes what you do. It just changes your overall emotional experience. And so I don't know how familiar you are, if you've been following them, because like you say, he's been posting stuff. One of the things Meek posted was talking about he seen brothers upstate that was the toughest gangsters up in there sweeping and doing certain things where and cheapening and who themselves, and they were the most scariest guys in their hood. And that's when he said, you know what, this whole system is a trick, and I'm not letting nobody trick me out my position. So, you know, don't play with me. I'm still that guy, but also like I understand what's happening now, and I think a lot of us go through that space where I look at my son where he will never share the experience of like growing up in a certain community because we've unpacked a lot of our trauma as his mom and his dad. We unpacked a lot of our trauma, and now he won't have to go through that. And then sometimes I think we want our children to experience those things to kind of like toughen up, but he shouldn't have to toughen up. That's the problem. We weren't supposed to be toughen up. We were so you're not, and again, I'll use a therapeutic term. You're not supposed to be in that survival mode all the time. Like that's a defense mechanism. That's a thing that's supposed to keep you safe, but you're not supposed to have it on all the time. It's almost like having your high beams on all the time. It's like, whoa, like it's too much. Like we don't need all of that energy in this moment. It's only when it's called for. And so talking about me in a lot of the Black male experiences is we always in survival mode. So everything is in a protection mechanism because I don't know if I feel safe because I'm always fighting for my safety. And so now everywhere I go, I got to fight for my safety. And what we see, or I believe what we seeing with Meek, shout out to his new mixtape. I was rocking it yesterday. That we see him being he's getting the chance to be free of being in survival mode all the time and actually, you know, learning who he is as a person and learning as his emotional experience. And like, yeah, I'm just enjoying life. Like I'm thriving now. I'm not even in a survival mode. Like I'm chilling. I'm having fun. Bills paid, family, new father, all of that stuff. Like I'm good.
100%. And shout out to Reform Alliance. We've done a few things with them in the past, and they're the ones that got us up and Made in America. So
Yes.
salute to them. But I guess just, you know, kind of even bringing things back all full circle. August Alsina, what is your message? If you could give a message to August Alsina for, I guess, you know, making the move that he made on national TV.
Nah, and when I think about it, man, it just listen. Vulnerability is the new sexy. So that's one of our things at Black Men Hill. Is that's one of the shirts. Vulnerable, being vulnerable because we want more men to feel vulnerable. But I also not even just to August Alsina, but just to men. August Alsina is just sharing his version of like how he was taught love and how he was shown love and what was his experience. That doesn't dismiss your version of love. That doesn't dismiss your opportunity of like again, mine's was I didn't recognize my father was my first heartbreak. He learned it from another a friend that we still don't know what it is, but we know that he said this was I finally learned a version of love that works for me, and I think a lot of men have to find the version that works for them, and I think that's the overall message is continue to find like what works for me. Am I still in survival mode? And if I am, what can I get to that thrival mode where I can experience love in its truest form?
Right, 100%, 100%. And you know, you just said that you guys just got back from the Black Men Need Hugs tour, where you guys did stop down here in Atlanta as well. Just what do you guys have coming up next?
Yeah, so we just came off our gala, our King's Gala, where we celebrated reform actually as one of the community leaders doing work, and we gave them out an award, and a bunch of other people that's doing the work as well. And then we're getting ready for the new year. We're going to do our community tour. We got our gun violence group therapy. We still got our support groups every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern for men. We got our support group for women. And we just trying to find different ways to impact the system of mental health, as well as breaking those barriers, becoming stigma free, and then offer a space for men to be vulnerable. And that could be through your spouses, that could be through managing gun violence, that could be through, just finding different ways. And last but not least, we offer the free therapy. We in 9 states. We offer the free therapy to men of color, 8 free sessions. So please sign up at blackmenhill.org. If we service your state, we'll let you know where we at with things. So please sign up. Oh, and donate too.
Oh yeah. And people can donate on the website.
Yes, sir.
Well, they first things first. Salute to y'all for what y'all doing, offering free therapy to Black men in 9 states across the country. The question I want to wrapping up. It's a couple more questions. But with the whole hip hop thing, like I said, mentioned Takeoff earlier. There's always a debate when a young rapper dies, especially a Black rapper. And, it's like, people kind of want to blame something, whether it's gun violence, gun control, whether it's the rap music, or even just kind of lack of mental health. Like, what do you see as kind of like the largest issue right now with so many prominent young Black rappers dying, and, just Black men in general?
It's a complex question, because I do think about it often, because I do listen to the music. I love the music. Remember, at the time, it was video games. It was video games like Grand Theft Auto that was making us want to go out and do X, Y, and Z. It's movies, and it's like we following what we see in movies or TVs or anything, any form of entertainment. I feel like it's get villainized. One of the things that bothers me with the critique of hip hop is it's our oil. It's the only thing is one of the only things we created from scratch, or we can create from scratch, that feeds a lot of families. And then when we villainize it, we kind of are taking food away from our family. And that's my personal opinion. I will never put it on Black Men Hill to share that point. And then the other part of that is it's a complex situation, because do you blame the fan for wanting to listen to the music? Do you blame the artist for making the music? Or do you blame the label for funding the music? Because I think everybody, finds a way of participating in that. And I think there's a accountability, the media for, promoting and marketing the music. There's a lot of people that needs to be blamed in that chain. And it's a complex situation, again, because it's a lot of families that are being saved from, poverty with that. A lot of people are being fed, even with the YSL case. There were a lot of families that they supported, and a lot of music or not music, a lot of movements that was happening, even though, if again, it's alleged, even if they did what they did, they also, it's a counterbalance act with everything. And it's almost like a catch-22. Is like, well, who gets the blame? It's everybody's responsibility, in a sense, and we all are culprits in the effect of the harm that whatever this is happening in our community.
Well, no, for sure, and we appreciate it, Reginald. I know we hit some heavy topics today. I appreciate you just stepping up to the plate and showing up and everything like that. Where can people follow Black Men? I was about to say Black Men Need Hugs.
we are on Black Men Hill on all platforms. So Instagram, if you just Google Black Men Hill, will pop up. YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. Black Men Hill, at Black Men Hill, and you'll find us.
All right, fire. Sounds good. Everybody, Reginald Howard, Black Men Hill. Rashad Milligan for rolling out. Until next time, make sure you all take care of yourselves.